Yes. Thank you for joining us today. We have been hard at work for the past 4 days on this very stage, getting into jazz music, getting into the history of jazz, getting into the theory behind the notes, and I am so proud of all the students here on stage, and we are so excited to share what we've been working on with all of you. Before we get to it, I also want to give a big thank you to the faculty that has been with us this entire camp. They have traveled far and wide to be here with the students, lending their wisdom, their experience, their expertise. Give it up for our bass faculty, Carmen Quill. Our piano faculty, Addison Fry. On the drums, John Storino. And on the woodwinds, a jazz camp alum himself, Mason Collins. And now it's time for some music. To introduce this first song, please make some noise for our trumpet player, Jalen.
Good afternoon, everybody. In honor of 100 years of Miles Davis, our first piece we'll be playing is So What, from the most famous jazz records to date, Kind of Blue. We hope you enjoy.
How about it for this band? We heard from a number of soloists on that. We heard from Jalen on the trumpet, Will on the trombone. We heard from Abby on the flute. We heard from Charlie on the alto saxophone, Connor on the tenor saxophone. We heard from Torrance on the clarinet. We heard from Waylon on the piano. Give it up for our soloists. And now we're going to switch things up and feature one of our two small ensembles, one of our combos. While we change the stage, I want to say a couple of thank yous. First of all, I'd like to thank the South Carolina Arts Commission for their ongoing support of this endeavor. This is our 6th year doing the camp, and so much of the support comes from the Arts Commission and comes from USC Aiken. The privilege of being right here in this building is something we do not take for granted. We are so spoiled getting to take over this whole building for history class, for ensemble classes, for theory classes, for lunch, the whole thing. So let's make some noise for USC Aiken and the South Carolina Arts Commission. And now we have our first ensemble, our first small ensemble all ready to go. They go by the name Comin' At Ya. And to introduce our first song, please welcome Paula on the drums.
The first song that Comin' At Ya is going to play is called Boogie Stop Shuffle by Charles Mingus.
How about it for Jasmine on the flute? For Charlie on the alto saxophone. Millie on the tenor saxophone. Sam on the trumpet. Boogie Stop Shuffle by Charles Mingus. To introduce our next song, make some noise for Millie one more time.
Hi, everybody. I'm Millie. Next, we're going to be playing Friday the 13th by Thelonious Monk. And, I know it's going to go good because I have my Contra black cat shoes on. Hey, they're lucky. Come on.
about it for this band? That was Nate on the trombone. You heard from Torrance on the baritone saxophone, Connor on the piano, Paula on the drums. Friday the 13th by Thelonious Monk. Now we're going to invite the rest of the band back on stage for another number with everyone. I want to say a couple more thank yous as I come on stage to our camp director, Jack Benjamin. Let's give it up for Jack. Jack, we are so grateful for your work year-round to make this possible, along with the work of the executive director of Joy in Aiken, Mary Fran Crook. Let's give it up for Mary Fran. And the president of Joy in Aiken, Eric Bache. Let's give it up for Eric. It's also a privilege to get to give these students the full experience of what it means to put on a show, which means lights and, of course, sound. And we've been so lucky to have the leadership and the expertise of our sound engineer, Lance Jones. Thank you, Lance. Now, we study the whole history of jazz music here at the Dr. Sandra Field Jazz Camp, and so much of that history has to do with the act of improvisation. And these students didn't just practice their improvisation, but they also practiced the act of composition, collective composition on the spot. So we'd like to share with you now a world premiere composition that hasn't even been written yet, but we are going to compose it together right now. A brand new world premiere. One more time for these students. We've done that every single day, and I wish you could have heard every piece because it's completely different every single time. It's amazing what they come up with. Okay, we're going to switch things up on the stage one more time and welcome our second ensemble, small ensemble for the day. And to introduce their songs, make some noise for Joel.
Hi guys. Our next combo will be the Blues Clues combo, and our first piece will be Blue and Boogie by Dizzy Gillespie, and our second one will be Bye Bye Blackbird.
Check, check. Hello? Can you hear me? How about it for Connor on tenor saxophone? Santi on alto saxophone. Joel on alto saxophone. Jalen on trumpet. Abby on the flute. Will on trombone. Wayland on piano. And hold it down back there, Will on the drums. Great job.
Okay, we're going to bring the rest of the band back out. Come on out, band. And we've got just a couple more for you today. And I want to mention a couple things. First thing I want to mention is that we're going to be back here next year. And you can save the date right now. We'll be here from June 17th to 20th, 2027. So we hope to see you at the Jazz Explosion concert. Was anyone here at the Jazz Explosion concert this year? Great. And if you are a student or if you are a parent or a guardian, we hope to have you back. And I also just want to say, you know, this is not just a jazz camp. This is the Dr. Sandra Field Jazz Camp. And I knew Sandra very well. She was a big part of the reason I started coming down to Aiken to be a part of Joy in Aiken. And she had this vision for the camp. She had this vision for the whole organization that was not just about performance and presentation, but was about outreach and making an impact in the community across the whole county. I can't even count. I know we have the stats. I can't count the number, the tens of thousands of students Joy in Aiken has reached over almost 20 years. So 52,000, thank you, 52,000 students. And that is something we are so proud of, and that is something that never would have happened without the vision and the dream of Dr. Sandra Field. So let's make some noise for Sandra. Now, I'd like to share a song alongside the other faculty now, and this is a song that takes me back to when I was learning this music, and when I was in middle school, I had a band director who gave me a CD. I'm trying to teach these kids what a CD is. But he gave me a CD with a song on it, and that was when I first learned it, and I was so lucky. You know, such a big part of learning this music is finding other kids your age who also share this passion, share this fire, share this hunger to learn the music. That's what's so special about this camp, is that these students it's really not about us faculty. It's about the fact that they get to come together and meet other students who are just as excited as they are. And when I was in middle school, there was a bass player named Carmen Quill. And she and I played together just about every day of middle school and through high school. So we're so lucky to have her with us here for the first time. One more time for Carmen Quill on the bass. This is a song by the great Bill Lee from the Spike Lee movie Mo Better Blues. That's Mason Collins on the tenor saxophone, Addison Fry on the piano, Carmen Quill on the bass, John Serino on the drum. Mo Better Blues. All right, we've got just one more for you. This is one of our favorite ones. This is by someone who we just lost this past year, the great Sonny Rollins. Now, Sonny Rollins left us with so many classic songs that not only inspire us, they are a vehicle for us to learn the music. And this next song is one of his most famous. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. because we have on stage not just one, but two Connors. And they are going to tell you all about this song. Make some noise for our Connors.
Hello, my name's Connor. I'm also Connor. And we need to stop getting in these situations.
We can't keep meeting like this.
But we do, and this is our second year introducing a song together. This song is named St. Thomas by, as you know,
Sonny Rollins.
Well done.